Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Trafford Talk for the Matchday review of Manchester United against Brighton. Oh, I'm relieved. That was very stressful. Obviously, the first half was a bit of a struggle for Manchester United. We didn't play very well at all. We had a 10-minute period at the start that was quite good, I thought, quite sharp. And then for the last 35 minutes of the first half, it was pretty terrible. Just all-round sloppiness. Obviously, we gave away the goal. Danny Welbeck, of all people, I knew he was going to score. It's inevitable. He always does. That was on the 13th minute. He got that goal. Maybe some questionable defending from Lindelof in that sense. And then we didn't really respond very well until after half time. It was like you're watching a different team, completely different team. It was brilliant. You know, we went from this performance that was looking very depressing. I think we all were a bit worried. And then the second half, we just stepped up massively. Everybody was so much better. And yeah, Luke Shaw had a very good game again. I think Pogba and Fernandes looked like they were struggling a bit, but they still both contributed to the goals. Obviously, the equaliser came 62nd minute. Bruno Fernandes played a lovely pass through to Marcus Rashford, who finished very well. Rashford did come off. I think fitness issues are still a bit of a problem with Rashford, but I guess Ollie thought we had to risk him and it paid off. And then the interesting thing is, so Donny van der Beek comes on for Edison Cavani, about 81st minute, I believe. He comes on, Greenwood's down the middle, and then suddenly we score within about 2 minutes. And with Martial's injury, which is obviously very unfortunate, Martial will be out, it seems, for the season, which is a really, really big blow. Regardless of his form this season, he's a really important player in the run-in. And when you combine that with the fact that Edison Cavani hasn't been great recently, Mason Greenwood through the middle might be a way forward for Manchester United. Shown by the fact he scored in 2 minutes. It was a lovely feeling just coming out of that, knowing we've capitalised on teams dropping points. Because I mean, I celebrated that second goal like we'd won the World Cup. I went absolutely mental. And we actually closed the game out quite well. I was very nervous at the end, I've got to be honest, but ultimately it's another win. We've gained points this weekend on Chelsea. We've gained points on Leicester, on Tottenham. I mean, Arsenal are relevant, but we've gained points on Arsenal, I guess. And for me, I think that is a big step towards top four now. Really big step. But I am joined by Perry tonight. We'll be getting his thoughts. Perry, 2-1 win for United. How are you feeling?
Good. I thought the performance was terrible, but I'm really psyched. I think that is top four secured now. I really do.
Yeah,
Whether we finish second, third, or fourth, I think tonight was a really big result. I think that's a 9-point gap now on Chelsea. As I said, like we've still got a lot of games to play and it could go any way, but it's hard to see us losing 3 games plus now towards the end of the season unless something disastrous goes along. But the one thing I'm impressed with, I think we've been playing pretty bad now for like the last couple of months, but we still keep grinding out wins. And they always say it's a good sign of a team when they're playing bad, and like we're still picking up results. And I think we can all agree that me personally, I think the last 6 or 7 weeks, I think we've been pretty poor, but we just seem to keep grinding results out.
Well, you're 100% right, because tonight's one of those games where if we don't win tonight, a lot of people will have a meltdown, because you look at the performances of various players and you say, like, a lot of them were pretty poor for the duration. But the fact we can come back and win these kind of games shows a lot of steel and character in this team. And obviously, I'm not saying that we didn't play badly at the start. We did. I'm not excusing that. It was bad. But I think, football is obviously a game of 90 minutes. And we saw this. I mean, I know it's an obvious point to make. I don't know if you agree, but obviously under Sir Alex Ferguson, we used to come back every week, basically. I mean, it was basically every week we'd go behind. And do you think that it shows that this team has character, that we can bounce back from setbacks in games like that?
Yeah, no, I do. My personal opinion is I don't think this team is good enough to compete for. I think we're good enough to win a cup, but I don't think the team's good enough to compete for the league or the Champions League. I still think we need a few additions, but I definitely think we're in the right direction for numerous reasons. A few. I think it's the first time we've seen since Ferguson players actually improving. The likes of Shaw, Rashford. We're seeing youth promoted, what we haven't seen under a lot of managers, probably since Van Gaal. And I think it's also the first time in the transfer window we've actually had some successful signings. Whether people want to debate that they're good or bad, like when was the last time under any man? Like I don't think any fan could name me how many good players did Jose actually sign or Van Gaal who have been consistently good.
Well, Van Gaal's a very interesting one because I was speaking to someone about this on a stream the other week actually, and it's like if you look at Van Gaal signings, Martial's the only one that's been any good. The rest of them were absolutely abysmal. And
I agree.
So would you kind of link to what you were saying? Would you look upon the last summer of Telles, Donny van der Beek, and Cavani as a success overall, like in relation to other summers?
Them not so much. I don't know. The actual Solskjaer signings, I think, were that first window. Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, James, and then obviously we got Bruno in January. But I think Wan-Bissaka's, I do think he's the best defensive right back in the league.
Yeah.
He's been a success, I think. And Maguire, whether people want to debate about the price tag or not, he has been solid for our defence. I don't care what anyone says. He has improved that defence. If we go back to the Smalling and Jones days, people soon forget how bad we was. And I think he's shored up the defence. Bruno's been in revelation. Cavani's been pretty good for us as well. James causes a divide, but we bought him from a championship club for a small fee, so I don't know where the expectation does come from. I just see a lot of hate and stuff going towards the manager, but I just think it's so unnecessary at the minute. We all knew when Jose went that this was all going to be a rebuild and this was going to take 3 or 4 years to get us back in a position to compete. And I think Solskjaer's doing all right. I get some of the thing, but the thing what makes me laugh is a lot of fans always criticise his team selections, but while they're doing that, they're actually admitting themselves that the players out there are not good enough if they're criticising the actual team selection. So if the players aren't good enough, that's saying that the team really isn't that good enough to compete. And I still think we need 3 or 4 signings to really push this team onto the next level. I think we can all agree where we need to strengthen. I don't know what you think. What's your thoughts on the manager? I just see he gets so much hate, and I just think it's so unjustified for how long he's been here. This will be the first manager we've had to get us back-to-back Champions League qualification, and I know that isn't the ceiling of what we want as United fans, but that is progression.
Yeah, and I think linked to what you were saying about team selection, I think I tweeted this at half-time. When I looked at the team that he picked, I think it's probably, other than swapping Martial for Cavani, I think that's the best available 11 we have. When you're playing a team like Brighton, like we did today, they're obviously going to sit back. And I think he put that team out there. It's the best team I think we've got, basically. And he's put that team out there with Pogba, Fernandes, Greenwood, Rashford, brilliant players, sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Once you put a team out there like that against a team with a low block, there's only so much really a manager can do at that point. You've put your team out, and it's difficult to break teams down. And I think it's interesting because when we were losing, I was kind of thinking about what the reaction to this would be across the fan base.
There's been uproar. There would have been uproar.
There would have been uproar.
There still is uproar even after we've won. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And he got the team right. I think so. Games like against Leicester, I think you can blame Ollie for because I think he got the team wrong.
Yeah,
but tonight,
I agree.
I don't think anyone sat there. I mean, you might disagree. Do you think would you have changed anyone in that starting 11 tonight?
If I'm honest with you, I think I probably agree that it's probably the strongest starting 11. I don't know what player. The players off the top. I don't think Fred's a United player. I really don't. He frustrates. he plays it way too safe for me. I think we need a CDM who can also break the lines. I think he's slow on the ball, but not to say. I think he's probably the best option we do have at the moment, though. Like for £50 million, I really think we really done some bad business there. Lindelof is debatable.
Can I jump in there? What do you think about Lindelof's role in the first goal?
Yeah, I think Lindelof is a good player for United, but I don't think he's good enough to start for us. But I totally agree with you. I think it's the best starting 11 we've got. Bay, I seriously, I do see flashes of him, but I also think about being a good player is being available. And how can you build a team who wants to challenge and like build up consistency with someone who isn't available week in, week out? So I do think Lindelof, I do think Bay is the better defender, and I think a lot of us agree that. But I'd rather have Lindelof with someone we can build a partnership with and some consistency. And I do actually like Lindelof, but I think we can all agree that we need someone a bit more.
Well, would you say, because for the goal today, I mean, I was pretty furious, to be honest, because I felt like I'd seen that goal a million times this season.
Yeah.
Cross gets played in, it goes straight over Lindelof's head, and Danny Welbeck, obviously, it was Welbeck scored. And I remember exactly the same thing. I think it was against West Brom this happened. Yeah. And I also remember a clip of Jose Mourinho talking about Lindelof on Sky, and he was saying he's not very good in the air. And coincidentally, while Mourinho was saying this, they showed a clip of Lindelof missing a header. Now, do you think this is a problem with Lindelof that can be addressed? Do you think I'm being harsh on him? Like, what's your view on him in this game?
No. I don't think you're being harsh on him. I just think that's one of his weaknesses, and I don't think he's going to improve it anytime soon. And I just think it's something what is always going to happen with him. I don't think it's anything that's going to go away. And I do think he gives us. I think he is an above average centre back who provides some sort of consistency to the defence. I don't think our defence has been as bad as what people are making out. But I just think that's something. He doesn't really make that many mistakes. He just gets caught out with his weaknesses in the game. It's not like, as we said, to go back with like Jones and Smalling, like they used to make absolute howlers, didn't they? Whereas like now, our defence is definitely a lot more solid. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I really am. Like, it's not where we want to be as United fans. It's really not. But we know. Well, I think most level-headed United fans. I don't know what you think, but I still think we're 3 or 4 players away from actually being a serious. Winning the cup is a cup, but we all want to see United challenging, and I think we can all agree that this team is not good enough to challenge like a City or a Liverpool at the minute.
We need a couple of players in key positions, and then we're well on for a title charge because we are getting better as a football team. There is
definitely
performances kind of like tonight that are a bit like, God, but that happens in a season. It happens over the cycle. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is progressing. And I think you made a really good point earlier when you were saying that it's the first time for ages that loads of players are getting better at the same time. But just to finish, Perry, who would you say is your man of the match tonight?
Greenwood. I don't think he was phenomenal, but he hit the post in the first half. He had a good couple of chances for us. What made some saves, and he scored the winner. And the last few weeks, he started to look like the Greenwood of last year. I thought he's starting to look like him for myself because I think he looked a bit. I don't know what you think. I've been impressed with him recently. He's got the winner for us, and he's had a good couple of chances. And against Leicester, I thought he was bright, and the week before that, I thought he was pretty good as well. And yeah, it's nice to see him doing well. And I would like to see him in that striker role. I really would. Just give him a run, see what he can do.
Yeah. Fully agreed. I think you're completely bang on. I think Greenwood's been brilliant tonight. But Perry, thanks very much for joining us and everything.
Thank you, mate. No, it was nice to catch up, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, speak soon, mate. Cheers.
Lovely. Cheers, bud.
That was Perry, and I'm now joined by the unofficial pundit. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. Yourself?
Yeah, brilliant. Actually, I've got a bit of kind of adrenaline. I've still got the adrenaline from that second goal going.
Do you know what it is? We just needed the 3 points, especially after that horrible performance. It was a 3 points. It was another, how can I say, perfect weekend for us. I know West Ham haven't played, but I don't see West Ham being a real danger to us. And the 3 teams that you would say were a danger to Manchester United's top 4 finish, which I still think top 4 was done. It's second place we're fighting for. But the 3 teams you would say was a danger at the moment was probably Leicester, Chelsea, and obviously Spurs. You can throw Liverpool in there now as well because they're on the same points as Spurs. But with Chelsea losing, Leicester losing, and then Spurs drawing today, late on, it's like, do you know what? This is absolutely perfect. Just to nick the 3 points here, get the weekend over and done with, and basically cement top 4. Because we need to, not only do we need to lose 4 games out of our last 8, you need Leicester, Chelsea, and Spurs to win all 8 of their games. And that's not happening. It's just not.
Yeah,
I don't care what anyone
it's
tells me.
almost impossible, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
That's going to happen. I mean, what did you think about kind of the game overall tonight? Like, how are you worried to an extent about how poor that first half was, or like you said, I guess.
I was listening to you and Perry for quite a while there, and you made some good points. There was a lot I disagreed with, but I'll keep some of that away. But I weren't surprised, I'll be honest with you, and I think this is why I haven't been doing it much anymore, because I feel like fans can be so clueless. You and me, I think we agree on a lot of things, but we do disagree on some things. I think that's natural. We all have our point. We have what we like, and we see things different. I think that's the way it is with football fans. For me, that's not our best starting 11. I don't believe it is in any way, shape, or form. Firstly, for me, I think Paul Pogba, I don't know what he offers Manchester United. I really don't. I saw him for France as well. I didn't watch all their games, but I saw him for France as well. He just wasn't doing. It's not as if you see him go to France and he's running the midfield. Like, he looks like a carbon copy of Paul Scholes, and then comes to Manchester United. You can say, do you know what? It's the players that are not good enough around him. He does nothing for France. He did nothing this whole international break for France. Their last game, he created 0. And then he's come on today. Where does the first goal come from? A poor pass from him. Was no surprise to me at all. I just looked at my dad. My dad looked at me and like, it was no surprise to me. I feel Cavani offers absolutely 0. There was a point where Greenwood tries to cut in from the right-hand side and has a shot with his left. And he's forced to because Cavani's now pulled off the back post and so far away. Greenwood can't link up. Do you remember that goal against West Ham when we scored? We was losing 1-0 in the first half and Greenwood got the equaliser. That was a bit of link-up play with Martial. You need your striker to be there so you can link up with him. You're not getting that. Yeah. I feel like Cavani offers nothing for us. Bruno has no one to bounce off of like he does with Martial. That's why Bruno always looks better. You can check the stats. Bruno scores more, assists more, and looks better when Martial starts.
So can I just so on the Pogba thing, I agree. I don't think tonight he was very good. I thought he was quite sloppy, actually. Like you said, I noticed it a lot. He kept giving the ball away, but he did get the assist in the end. I think the only reason why I'm not coming down too hard on Pogba tonight is because while I think, we got an assist, but he wasn't great tonight. But there have been quite a few games in the last few months where he has kind of saved us a bit. So I'm kind of thinking I think it was Milan, Fulham, Burnley. And if Pogba's not in our best starting 11, who would you replace him with?
I'm not saying that McTominay is a better player because there's no one on that pitch or in the Man United squad that's more talented than Pogba. Talent doesn't get you there. Ricardo Quaresma was more talented than Ronaldo. And anyone that doesn't know that should go back 20 years and have a look. Should go back to the Pepsi advert for the World Cup. Ronaldo was the little boy in the advert, and Ricardo Quaresma was the main man for Portugal. There's a reason he was a king in Portugal. But for all his talent, just didn't apply himself on the pitch. Where Ronaldo would be the first one at training at Manchester United, would stay behind after, worked himself that hard that he went from this skinny little kid to this all of a sudden muscly beast. Like, not, I mean, ripped when I say muscly. That's the difference. Where if Quaresma had applied himself like that, we might have been talking about him as one of the best players ever. And that happens. I think that's where I've fallen out of love with Pogba. I loved Pogba. I thought he was fantastic. But that's why I fall out of love with him, because I can't stand a player that has all that talent. We would give. I know you love football. I love football. There's probably 1 billion fans out there that would give their right arm to have a quarter of the talent Pogba has.
100th probably.
And doesn't do it. And look at the games you mentioned. He come on against Milan and got a goal. He wasn't sensational against Milan. And then the other games are Burnley and Fulham. It's games you would expect him to do well against. And really, he wasn't sensational in those games. He hit a couple of long-range shots. Great goals. But does that make up for a player who's on 300k? He's on 300k. Let's look at it like this. And is meant to be the best midfielder in the world. Is that enough? Burnley, Milan and Fulham in a whole season.
I think it's so difficult to kind of judge him as a whole, because obviously he had the COVID bit at the start, where at the start of the season he was terrible, and then he came back into the team and looked quite good for a bit, and then got injured again. And I think his injuries are a difficulty. I think tonight he was poor, but I think sometimes, like, I think Pogba and Bruno have very similar games sometimes, where they're both quite they seem like they're not influencing it that much. But because they're so good, they can have those moments where they produce something brilliant. And my worry is, like, if we were Manchester City and we could take Pogba out and put in, like, well, they brought in Gundogan, didn't they? Or, someone who is equally at that level of talent. But I look at our depth beyond Pogba and who we can replace him with. And the reality is there's no one really behind him who can really pass the ball very well.
Yeah, but over the last 2 seasons, how many games has he played? And we still finished third and got to 3 semi-finals. I know we lost them, but bear in mind, he was a part of the Seville loss. Let's not pretend he was. Him and Bruno were on the pitch with Matic, who was meant to be our best midfield. Then tonight, everyone's been saying lately that Fred, Pogba and Bruno are our best midfield. Well, we saw that tonight. And I'm sorry, they did not do anything to... The issue for me is, over the last 2 seasons, he's hardly played, and we're still second, and we finished third last season.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
We're not doing that bad. We're not doing that bad without him. But when I look at the seasons he did play, we finished 6th, 4th, 6th. So he hasn't been. I can't say that he's been great. And when he comes out, you see a drop in class. No, you don't. We struggle in games, but we struggled in games where he has played. We struggled to break down Fulham. We struggled to break down Burnley. We struggled to break down AC Milan. We struggled. He come on and done that, and then we didn't do much after that. We struggled to break down Brighton tonight. And let's be honest, his assist, you could have got that. It was the worst hit shot in football history. That's going up. That's going for a goal kick, and I mean near the corner flag. We're just lucky that Green was in the right spot and gets his head on it. Otherwise, a defender just clears this, puts his foot through it, and it goes to the halfway line. It wasn't a good assist like Bruno's. Bruno's had a shit game, but still, he's in the right place at the right time. And Rashford, it's credit to the player who plays the pass when a player like Rashford can just place this ball.
Yeah,
that shows. And I'm critical of Bruno sometimes, and he was terrible tonight. But when you can play a pass like that, and the striker can just literally that's like Rashford just playing a simple pass in training and finish it. That's thanks to the player who's played you the ball. Rashford doesn't have to take a touch, doesn't have to break his stride, doesn't have to do much, just rolls it in. And that's what Bruno does. I don't see that from Pogba. We've watched enough games now. We talk about, but he can do it. He does have it. And when does he do it, really? And for someone who's getting nearly 300 grand a week and causes more drama when he goes away on international breaks and all that, and his agent, is he really worth that? Does he dominate games for us? Does he win games for us single-handedly and boss games when he plays? No. He came back against Leicester. He was dog shit. Against Leicester, he was terrible. Ndidi was better than him. Tillemans was better than him. What did he do against Leicester where you could say, do you know what? Stand-up player. Nothing. And that's where it is for me. And I'm sorry, I feel like we have to move on from him, but he's not the only one. He's definitely not.
We'll move on to Cavani, where I think me and you agree a lot more on this one. I know you said quite a few weeks ago that you kind of basically alluded to the fact we're better with Martial than Cavani. And at that point, I kind of thought, what's he talking about? Because in my head, I thought, Cavani scores loads. He really doesn't. And tonight, he just wasn't very good. And his injuries and everything, like he didn't look like he'd played with the other players before tonight. And so it begs the question, if you were Ollie and you were obviously the board, the Glazers, would you renew Enanson's Cavani's contract for another year?
Okay, I'm not a Cavani fan at all, which you know. This is another game, and I guarantee if you check a lot of his games, he has 0 shots off target, 0 shots on target. He's not a player who's very good at holding up the ball. He ain't going to get the ball and take players on. So all those things he lacks in. You literally have to put it on a plate for him. Well, if you have to put it on a plate for him, there's a lot of players out there you can sign that you have to put it on the plate for, but can offer more. Now, when people will go, oh, but look what he's done in his career. I don't care what he done 17 years ago when he was 17 years old, or 15 years ago, or 12 years ago. I'm talking about now. It's like, would you bring Ronaldinho back? No, but he's been one of the greatest players ever because he's finished. Cavani's finished. Danny Ings would do a better job than him tonight because Danny Ings would have took players on. Danny Ings would have probably had a shot from 25 yards out. Would I renew his contract? If Ole was going to use Cavani for what he's meant to be used for, because we're not getting Haaland. I don't see that. Number one, the Mina Raiola thing. Number two, you're not going to get Sancho and Haaland. And for me, Sancho's the priority. And we had this conversation before. And all four of us, that was when you came on my channel, do you remember? And we said is Sancho. Because we need that right winger. We need that depth. Because for me, I love Greenwood, but he's not a right winger. I'm sorry, he's not. You want to see Greenwood play as a striker.
Well, that's what we want, isn't it? It's what I want, definitely. I think we need, now Martial's out for the season, which is awful. We need to put Greenwood through the middle. Because 100%. People forget, in the Europa League games last season, he scored. He played down the middle in the games and seemed to score in practically every game and in the cup games as well.
It does.
And then he's just been kind of reclassified as a right winger. And like you said, he's not a right winger. People don't understand this.
And this is why I would look at it like this. We're not going to get Haaland, who seems to be... I don't see us getting Harry Kane. We're not going to spend 150 million on him. And then again, if you go and get Harry Kane, but you don't get a right winger, you're going to have this trouble again. Don't get me wrong, Harry Kane will get you goals. And for me, he's the best striker in the world. He's a fantastic player. His all-round game is sensational, but I really want a right winger. So then I would keep Cavani, but only if you're keeping Cavani. And I'm not Cavani's fan at all. But I'd only keep him for... He should be on the bench, so you have that option. And when it's not working, you break the 2 sitting midfielders. You don't need 2 sitting midfielders if you need a goal. Like against Leicester, when we made the 4 changes, I couldn't understand why he's bringing McTominay on to be a sitter next to Fred. That's not what we need. We're looking for a goal. It's not that game. When the final whistle goes, you're out if you don't score another goal. You bring someone like Cavani on and you go more of a 4-2-4 or 4-4-2. That's how I would have Cavani. That's how I would have had him tonight. That's how I would have had him all season. And that's what I'd keep him for next season. To literally Martial start. Martial's not playing, it's someone like Greenwood. And Cavani, you come in, if it's a game that has no meaning, in the Champions League game, if you're already through the game, maybe start him up front and give the other boys a rest. But still start Greenwood instead. And like I said, bring him on. Just be that impact sub. You're an old man, but be that impact sub for one of them games where we might be drawing 1-1, we need a goal, and you just crosses just coming in left, right, and centre, and hopefully he gets on the end of something. That's what I'd keep Cavani for, because if you're not getting Haaland, who everyone wants, or you're not getting Harry Kane, I don't want to go and get these Andre Silvas, who's had one good season in the German league, like Jovic did, and now Jovic has gone back from Madrid and struggles to do anything, or like Haller did, or like Timo Werner did. I don't want one of these strikers who's going to come in, huge price tag, 60 million or something like that, not going to be great, and then you're struggling to offload them in a couple of years. People are talking about 15 millions. No, You're better off keeping Cavani then. Seeing
Well,
what. Go
the
on.
problem with it as well is I think I feel the same about some other players. Like I tweeted this out the other day. I personally think we should keep Fred, and the reason I think we should keep Fred, and maybe even though I don't necessarily think he deserves to stay, that we should keep Cavani, is because what will happen is if these players do go, do you think we're going to get replacements? We'll just have a thinner squad with less depth, and regardless of we both think Cavani should be doing more. And a lot of people think Fred should be doing more, but you'd rather have them than not have them, you know?
Oh, yeah, of course. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And for me, I don't think Fred should go. Do I think Fred's a starter for Manchester United who want to win the Premier League? No, I don't.
Do you think he was better tonight? Because I noticed, especially in the second half, he'd win the ball and play a pass quite well.
Do I like Fred? Yes. I like Fred to stay in his own half. He's a bulldog. He wins balls back. I think the issue tonight was Fred was now trying to create because Bruno looked a bit lost. I don't know if that's fatigue. I don't know if it's, like I said, playing with Cavani, I don't think helped Bruno at all. Not one bit. Pogba wasn't doing nothing. So now Fred wants to try to create because any footballer would. You want to try to get your team back into the game because we conceded early. And that's not Fred's game. Fred's game is sitting deeper and he's always going to be snapping at players. He's always going to be running at players. Fred will work in overtime. And that's what I like about Fred. And I think players like Matic need to go. I think his days are done. Never going to offer you over 90 minutes. He's never offering you what Fred's offering you. No way.
You look at all our big wins that have come under Ollie, and I think you alluded to this earlier with the Pogba thing when we were discussing that. Most of those wins have been with Fred in the team, and he does a very unique job that is pretty irreplaceable. Because if you play we rocked up to the Etihad the other week and just played them off the park.
Yep.
I don't think you could do that with Matic and McTominay in midfield. I just don't think you could. McTominay and Fred are really good, and Fred isn't, like you said, he's not a starter week in, week out, but he's a player. I know everyone always makes this comparison. He's a bit kind of like, like a Fletcher or a Parks type player that he does the job and you bring him in a game and he'll do a really good job. And players like that are really important because if we sell Fred, don't replace him, do you really think Matic is good enough to fill that void in the big games? Because they're completely different type of players. Like you said, Fred is a bulldog player. And okay, he was bad against Leicester. I'm not defending that, but I do think it would be really silly to just completely dismiss him.
Alexi, I'll be honest with you. Who talks about Fred being sold? Fans on Twitter. Nobody else. Ole wouldn't have started him today. He's got Matic to choose from. He's got McTominay to choose from. He's even got Donny van de Beek to choose from. Fred wouldn't be getting the nod ahead of these people. And Fred gets the nod for most of the big games. Him and McTominay get the nod for most of the big games. And I feel like the issue isn't, you can sit with them too, because McTominay will get forward. He will get into the box. He can get you goals. He's got more goals than Pogba this season. But you can't do it if you're playing without a right winger. And that's no offence to Greenwood, because I love him. I love Greenwood. And I think at some point you will see him as the main striker at Manchester United because he's both-footed, he's skillful, he's a really good player. If you now have those two sitting, and you've got Wan-Bissaka bombing forward to overlap Jadon Sancho. You've got Luke Shaw, who for me is probably our most important player at the moment. Not just defensively, but going forward as well. That pass he plays to Bruno. Whole defense splits their whole defense open and just helps you with that goal. Like
he reminds me of, what people used to say about the Liverpool fullbacks. It's like you've got like a playmaker at fullback. Shaw's becoming like that, isn't he?
Yeah, so if you got Shaw overlapping Rashford and Rashford cutting into the box more, that's what I want to see our wide forwards doing more. You've got Wan-Bissaka overlapping Sancho. You've got Pogba, whether it's Martial up front, whether it's Greenwood, whoever. Not Pogba, sorry, Bruno. Whether it's Martial ahead of him or Greenwood. You've got those 6 players. You can have these two sitting because McTominay will win games where you're trying to break a team down, will go forward more as well. And Fred just sits there at the halfway line with players like Maguire and Lindelof around him. And I did hear you talking as well about our defence. And I'm sorry, I don't think our defence have done anything wrong for the goal. I believe It's a really good ball in. And Welbeck was never bad on his head. There's a reason why he scored at Real Madrid for Manchester United.
Oh, yeah. That was good,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I won't forget that goal. Welbeck's very good in his head, and it's landed. This is a great save by the goalkeeper. It's landed perfect to him.
Yeah.
And when I look at Lindelof, other than that, he out of his 4 aerial duels tonight, he won all 4. He's actually got better on his head. And if you saw him against Zlatan, he beat Zlatan to the ball twice in the air in that game. You're not beating Zlatan. I actually think it's something Lindelof's been working on. And when I look at our defence now, week in, week out, they're conceding less. They're keeping clean sheets, which have helped us. Because like Perry was saying, we haven't been great. And that's showing a side that's resilient and can grind out wins now. And you can't grind out wins and 1-0 wins against West Ham, who've been good. They were 3-0 up against Arsenal just recently. And there's a reason why they're so high in the table. When you can grind out wins against them,
as well.
when you can grind out wins against them, grind out a 1-0 win against Milan, and really, let's be honest, that first game should have been a 1-0 win as well. That was the first goal we let in 7 games. So we can't say our defence has been bad. They've actually been really, really good. But when a good player puts in a good cross, and tonight Brighton put in a lot of good crosses, and a good striker, because Welbeck ain't shit. He wouldn't have come through, and Ferguson wouldn't have been playing him since the age of 17. He's just been plagued with a lot of injuries. When a good striker gets to run on a defender, that's what happens. And if it didn't, Nesta and Stam with Maldini and Cafu either side of them would never have conceded any goals. And they definitely wouldn't have conceded 3 to Milan Baros, Harry Kewell, Vladimir Schmitzer, and Dieter Hamann. You get my point? This wouldn't happen. Defenders concede goals. That's why we love football. And we can look at the last. Let me ask you a question. Because my cousin messaged it after the game because he's out in Dubai at the moment, so he wasn't able to watch the game with us. Did you at any point see us hold the ball in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes for 3 passes? We couldn't string 3 passes together, but the defense got us over the line.
Yeah,
because every cross that came in, they dealt with it.
I think you are right, actually, and I think you're bang on. We've definitely spoken about it before that this defense gets overly exaggerated into how poor it supposedly is. When if you look at the broad data and you look at how we've actually been since Maguire came in, for example, we've improved a lot defensively. There's been a few games like just write-offs, like Spurs for whatever, but and Lindelof wasn't even there for that one actually.
No,
but
it's by
overall, the defense has improved a lot. I think you're right in saying Lindelof probably has been working on his heading, but I still think they probably targeted. They know he's not great in the air, but regardless, you are right. He did. The fact he won the rest of his aerial duels is impressive, and overall, like you say, that defense has got us through a lot of games recently that we've grinded out when we've been under a lot of pressure, like Milan. So going forward, would you say Maguire and Lindelof are your partnership? Like, let's say going into next season.
Yeah, I would. For me, people keep talking about Bailly, and I'm sorry. Whether you think Bailly's unbelievable, I've seen people say that he's our best defender when fit. He's not. He's not better than Maguire. That's a fact. I'm sorry. Maguire,
very solid.
Another amazing performance tonight again from Maguire. He wins all his aerial duels. He's just solid, isn't he? But with Bailly, the issue is whether you think he's the best or he's not the best or whatnot, he's not fit. Now, you can't have a player who's not fit but say, oh, do you know what? He's our best defender. Yeah, when he's fit three times a season. That's not good enough. So we have to look past Bailly now. And I think that's what Ole's starting to do. That's why he doesn't play Bailly as much, even when he is fit, because he knows he can't rely on it. And then you're going to try to build on a partnership that might not be there for 2 months again. So he's building on the 2 players. If you look at it, Lindelof and Maguire are quite reliable as well. They're always available.
Against the top 6 this season, Maguire and Lindelof have conceded 1 goal.
Which for me, sensational.
Which was a penalty as well.
Which was a penalty that the great Paul Pogba gave away, by the way. Just to add that in. Yeah. Man of the match for me tonight, I do love Greenwood, but again, Luke Shaw is just, do you know what? He's frightening. I don't remember him getting beat tonight, really. his confidence levels are so high at the moment, and even going forward, if it's not him and Rashford, I said it before we even scored. I said, Dad, if it's not him and Rashford, we're not doing much. And the first goal comes from Rashford, good ball by Bruno, and the second goal, it's for me, it's all about that pass from Luke Shaw. That's what gives Bruno that chance to whip the ball in, miss hit from Pogba, and Greenwood's on the end of it. And if you look at Shaw's passing today, it's like 91%. And most of his passes are going forward. They're not going backwards. Shaw don't really look backwards unless there's no pass on and he wants us to keep the ball. So for me, he's man of the match, and there's no coincidence. I think he's won the last 2 Man United Player of the Month awards. This was a player that fans wanted gone. They didn't just want him gone. They despised him. The hate I used to see, because I've always loved Luke Shaw, the hate I used to see was horrible. And this is why I don't think you can go by fans' opinions not being horrible. Because if it was fans' opinions, Luke Shaw wouldn't be there anymore.
Yeah. And I think with him, he just got, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a picture of Danny Rose came out. And he doesn't look kind of well, basically. And he just looks kind of mentally and physically just done. And that's kind of what Mourinho did to Shaw a bit. But Shaw's bounced back from it incredibly well. And people always said Shaw was mentally weak, which drove me up the wall. Because while I thought Shaw was pretty terrible at points last season, his positioning and stuff, he didn't make the overlapping runs. You can never say he's weak, because he had a leg injury that was so bad he nearly had to have his leg amputated. And to come back from that, and then to have this manager who just talks absolute shit about you constantly, and then to, prove everyone wrong now, it shows how strong he is mentally. And like you said, he's frightening, isn't he?
Do you know what it is, Alexi? People don't realise confidence is a key thing. And why I say confidence is, and people don't realise, because a lot of not being on myself as well, I didn't make it in football. So they don't know what the key elements are to making it. And confidence is one of the things that are key when a player does have the talent. You can have all the talent in the world. If you ain't got the confidence and the manager don't like you, there's an issue. And why I say confidence is a key thing. Arsenal, 49 games unbeaten. Their confidence was so high. They felt like they could beat any team, even if they went 2-0 down. They get beat by Manchester United and have never, ever recovered, because their confidence was that shot to bits. Liverpool.
They were there and then just went.
Yeah, Liverpool, I only watched the first 15, 20 minutes, and then I was with my family yesterday. So then we turned the game off, I was watching something else. But Liverpool, for the first 15, 20 minutes I was watching against Arsenal, I see misplaced passes. A couple of times Robertson got the ball and wasn't really going forward, was looking for the safe pass, where normally Robertson's gone. Like what Shaw's doing now, that's what Robertson used to do, was gone. And why? Because their confidence, I know they beat Arsenal in the end. Most teams beat Arsenal. We don't beat Arsenal because they've become like that shit mid-table team. That's our bogey team. We've always had one. Blackburn used to be one of them. But that's because Liverpool's confidence was shot to bits, especially when Watford beat them 3-0. So the unbeaten thing went out the window. Then Atletico Madrid came back in extra time and beat them 3-2. And that carried on into this season. Their confidence was low. They got themselves through a few games. They got themselves through the Leeds game with a penalty late on. Probably Salah doing one of his special dances on his toes again and goes over. They got a penalty there. But then you see it against Villa. They got destroyed 7-2.
That's the biggest I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah, and they weren't playing great before that either. And they didn't after. And everyone said, it's because of Van Dijk. No, they weren't great. Yes, they would be high on the table if he was still there and they didn't get all them injuries. But I don't think they would have beat City. I still think City would have run away with it. And that's because Liverpool's confidence got shot to bits. And with Luke Shaw, that happens. You nearly lose your leg. You probably question whether you're ever going to make it in football now. Then, when you slowly start to string a couple of games after all these years, you string a couple of games together and you have an amazing game, your manager comes out and says, it was his body and my brain. That's basically like saying your fullback, instead of coming out and saying, do you know what, he had a really good game, hopefully we see more of this, which any manager would, even if you don't think he was great, you've come out and said it was his body, my brain. That's basically saying like he's brain dead. That's basically what he said. He's brain dead.
That's exactly why I'm so happy Jose Mourinho is no longer at our club.
Oh yeah, of course. It's Spurs today against Newcastle. Like, how many points have Spurs? What is it? 15 points. I think they've dropped
Yeah.
from winning positions.
And we
That's
used
scary.
do you remember in the 16-17 season, his first one, we kept going 1-0 up at home and we draw 1-1. And it literally, the season Spurs are having now reminds me so much of what we were like under him. And then he has the audacity to say, same coach, different players. It's like, hang on, mate. You were doing the exact same thing at United.
There's two issues with me and Jose. Number one was I used to watch us in team against teams like even Brighton tonight. And for 90 minutes, we'd get played off the park, even if we won 2-1. I can't say that about tonight. I can say we were shit, but we still had most of the game. Where under Mourinho, any team we'd play against would play better than us. They'd pass better than us. They'd attack better than us. They'd get more players forward than us. It was just dire. Number two, and I say it to everyone, the problem with Jose Mourinho is his ego. Everything's about him. And the main thing is, when you're a footballer, most top footballers would have experienced this, whether you're a striker, whether you're a defender, especially if you're a midfielder. Someone like Pep Guardiola would have experienced this. At a certain point in your career, you have to adjust your game because you're not as fast. So you might not be as fast, but you might be better at passing now. You might read the game better now. Mourinho never made it in football. He never even made it at the lowest level. So he doesn't know about adjusting his game. So he's still stuck in, my game's perfect. These players are not. Well, it didn't work out for you at Chelsea. You managed to nick the league, and then the next season it went horribly wrong. It didn't work out for you at Manchester United at all. And now it's not working out for you at Spurs because 10 games in, you was apparently title contender. You're back. You were saying that you had a better squad than you did or a better team than you did at Manchester United. And now you're 11 points behind us. And we've got, let's be honest, compared to Mourinho, we've got a rookie manager. We've got an amateur manager compared to Mourinho's record as manager. And I look at it like this. Mourinho didn't get the players he wanted in the summer and completely capitulated from finishing second. Ole didn't get the players he wanted in the summer and moved a step forward from third to second.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm sorry, because Telles ain't a starter. Van der Beek ain't a starter. We know Cavani's not a starter. Palestri's playing somewhere else, and we don't know if we'll ever see him at Manchester United. Let's be honest. I've seen loads of players come in like that and get loaned straight back out. It's a signing for the young kid fans who will go on YouTube and think, oh my God, we've signed a new Ronaldo here. And Diallo, I'm sorry, he's never had 90 minutes of professional football. So you've been given you've had the worst summer possible, and you've got us in second place. And people tell me he's doing a bad job. 99% of the fans that hate Ole, or 100% of the fans hate Ole. Do you know why they hate Ole? Because he's bringing the British core back. And that's why they hate him. They want foreign players over foreign players over foreign players. And I'm sorry. Yes, you add some foreign players like the Bruno, who's a flair player. Like back in the day, you added a Cristiano Ronaldo. But if you look at our two teams that were so dominant in the Premier League, the only two teams to win the Premier League 3 times on the trot, 5 or 6 starters were British/Irish, because I know the Irish fans get a bit upset if you call them British, but it was. If you talk about our 2 greatest midfielders, you're going to say Scholes and Keane. If you talk about our greatest winger, you're going to say Ryan Giggs. I know some people say Ronaldo, but I don't think he's done it enough at Manchester United to be in that bracket. He's definitely one of our greats, but I wouldn't put him ahead of Ryan Giggs just for the simple fact, like I said, Ryan Giggs, look how long he is at United and how many trophies he won. But Ronaldo's one of them. Then you've got David Beckham. How good was Beckham? I'm still heartbroken he left now. Arguably our greatest player, for me, from what I've watched, Wayne Rooney. One of my favourite strikers, Andy Cole. My favourite centre-back, Rio Ferdinand. Still probably the best Premier League right-back, Gary Neville. One of the best left-backs, Dennis Irwin. Like, these are all our British players. Michael Carrick. I've not even spoken about him. Carrick.
He's incredibly underrated. I think it's the thing. I think my view on it is you need both. I think so. We saw kind of teams like City completely dismiss the thing of the British core, And then obviously you've got the other end of the spectrum, teams like Burnley, who it's just like it's fully British. And I just think you need both. Like you said, every title winning team has a few, because like in this team, even now we've got kind of McTominay, Rashford, Greenwood, Henderson, for example, all like, local lads know what it means and everything. And then you combine that with people like Bruno, who obviously didn't graduate through the academy or anything, but he gets it. He gets what's going on, and you get a really good combination throughout the team, and it creates a really good mentality. But yeah, on that note, so your man of the match was Luke Shaw, right?
Yeah, for me, yeah. I just don't think he put wrong, Alexi. Like I said, Greenwood was good. I just think stuck out on the right. It's always going to be harder for him, and he got the winner, which was lovely. A poacher's goal, really, which you wouldn't really put down Greenwood doing that at the moment. Mostly, you look at Greenwood's goals, it's wonder strikes in it, or cutting onto his left or right, just banging it low and hard. But yeah, he was good. Rashford still looks like he's struggling massively. I'm surprised he scored tonight.
I think he's still injured, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought our defence done well other than that goal they let in. Henderson was unlucky. It was a great save. Didn't really have much to deal with, and that just shows you how good our defence was after that. But for me, yeah, Luke Shaw, I just think everything at the moment has sort of comes through him. Like when the ball goes out to him, something might happen. He links up well with Rashford. So yeah, that's definitely my man of the match.
To be honest, I agree. For me, it was between Shaw and Mason Greenwood.
Yeah,
I thought Maguire was good as well, but I think I'll go with Luke Shaw as well, just because I think like Greenwood was great, like we said, his goal was great, but I think without Luke Shaw on the pitch, basically, we don't win that game.
That's what I feel. We don't win the game.
Defensively and going forward, he just drove us forward. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up this stream now. It's been a lot more enjoyable than I thought it would be, because when it was at half time and we were 1-0 down, I did not want to do this, but we've won. So everything's good.
On to Granada.
Yeah, Granada on Thursday and then Spurs on Sunday, I believe. But yeah, thank you very much, mate, for joining us again.
Thanks for having me on, bro. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate you taking the time and everything. I'm sure we'll have you on again, and maybe we'll do stuff together again.
Yeah, perfect. I'll message you anyway.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone for watching, and we will see you for a Granada preview on Wednesday. Cheers.